next part of the Bible study through the book of Job according to a seer's perspective. Today we're going to look at Job 16, and I'm going to split this chapter into two sections. So the next time we're going to look at the second half. Today we're going to look at the first half, which is from about verse 1 to verse 15, around that part. And as I'm reading this, I'm seeing the real importance of the power of encouragement for those who are going through the wilderness and desolation in their lives. And if we don't encourage people, we're going to see what happens. It's kind of like a spiritual effect to the people surrounding those going through a wilderness. So if you're going through a wilderness today, let this encourage you. And if you know someone who's going through a troubled time, or for some reason they're just not sticking in church and there's something going wrong and you can't put your finger on it, this might give a bit of insight into what's happening in the background. So let's have a look. So it begins with Job actually responding, saying, "I've heard many things like these. You're miserable comforters, all of you." I mean, he must have, really been feeling quite down. He says, "Will your long-winded speeches never end? What ails you that you keep on arguing?" I mean, how many of us have actually been going through a really difficult period in our lives and had people surrounding us, giving us all sorts of advice, all sorts of wisdom, trying to speak something to us that would just pick us up or shift us out of that situation, or shift our attitude, shift our mindset. And it just doesn't work. It just jars with us. And we think, why you keep saying these things? Why can't you just show me encouragement, or just be my friend for this moment in time, or offer me something other than trying to correct me or find fault with me or put a finger on a blame for something I've done? This happens so often when someone is going through a difficult period of time. What happens is we can often think, oh gosh, they must have done something terrible for this, or they must be, there's something hidden that we don't like about them, and we're just going to put them on a shelf and leave them there until they sort themselves out. And I'm just going to throw words at them, the kind of scriptures or verses to really, they need cleaning up. That could be the attitude. And actually what they need most of the time is encouragement and love and friendship. So let's see what Job says. He says, "I also could speak like you if you were in my place. I could make fine speeches against you and shake my head at you, but my mouth would encourage you. Comfort from my lips would bring you relief." And this is really the heart of what's going on here. Is Job, as we know, went through serious difficulties, serious hardship. And these people, they've through their speeches been trying to talk about how high God is and how low Job should be, and he should humble himself, and maybe he's done something wrong, and God is the one who can forgive it all if Job makes himself pure. And if you read through the first 15 chapters of Job, you see that coming through. But actually, Job is saying, if someone is in my place, they've lost everything. It might be their fault, it might not be their fault. What they really need is encouragement to get back up on their feet. And this is a kingdom principle. It is the principle of encouragement. And it's actually a spiritual gift as well. The spiritual gift of encouragement, of encouraging others. This is something that God is really into. He's really into encouragement. He's really into looking at people's hearts and seeing the good in them, because people are his image. So he looks at us and it's almost like a reflection of himself. He sees himself in us. He sees aspects of himself in us, aspects of his nature in us, and he speaks to those parts of us that are weakened, that are desolate, that are going through that wilderness, and he says, "Hey, I love you. I can see myself in you, and I want you to be the best that you can be. So I'm just going to speak words of comfort to you. I'm going to speak words of love to you. I'm going to build you up." And he's going to, by his Spirit, minister love into our souls, our spirit. Now, what we can do as humans is look at someone who's going through a difficult time and think, gosh, they must have brought this on themselves. And it might be true. It might not be true. But the business of heaven is actually, let's love these people. Now, don't get me wrong. There is a place for correction and a place for rebuke where there is wrongdoing. But this is a time of encouragement when someone is in the middle of that desolation, the middle of a wilderness. What they need is encouragement. They need someone to hold them up. They need someone to come alongside them and be their friend. So let's talk about what this looks like in reality. For the seer, a lot of seers will go through one of these periods where they don't know why, they've not done anything wrong, yet everything seems to be falling apart. They're pushing in to get closer to God, and their life just seems to be falling apart, and they don't know why. People turn against them, people say bad things about them, a bad reputation builds up. This person begins to get isolated. And I don't know why it is, but this seems to be a common pattern with people who are going deeper and deeper and deeper into the mysteries of God. They go into this isolation. Whether it's a significant recognition in the spiritual realms that this person is pushing into the depths of God, and that kind of creates a ripple effect in the spiritual realms around them where other people can feel that. And it's like, imagine being on the ocean and someone's creating these huge waves. You're in a smaller boat or a bigger boat. It doesn't matter. You're going to feel those waves. And they're going to have an effect. You're either going to want to get away from the source of those waves, or you're going to see it for what it is and try to get into it too. Most people on the ocean, when there's huge waves and there's calm far away, they're going to head towards the calm. They're not going to head into the storm. But this is kind of like what it happens in the spiritual realm. When someone is pushing deeper into the mysteries of God, they create a storm in the spiritual realm around them. It disrupts the spiritual realm. People get touched by it spiritually, people get affected by it, and they have one or two reactions. And sadly, most of the reaction is to actually create an isolated bubble around that person. And it can last for anything from several days to many years. For myself, it actually lasted many, many years. And no matter where I went, I found it difficult to make friends. I wasn't doing anything different. People would be very suspicious of me for no reason. And some people would even make false accusations against me, going to people in churches to say things about me that weren't true. And it created this rift. Meanwhile, I was just pressing deeper into God. I was spending, I don't know, maybe a total of 3 or 4 hours a day in prayer. And then, that combined with worship and reading the Bible. And then I'd be going on prayer walks. My time was spent eating, praying, worshiping, and doing my day job. That's all I had time for. And yet for some reason, there were these rumors going around about me that my activity was other than that. And what happened was I was going really deep into the presence of God, really deep into spiritual encounters with Jesus. And he taught me many things. He revealed many things to me. And as I came out of that period, I started to find people who were also going through similar journeys. Not necessarily the wilderness journey, but into the mysteries of God. And they came alongside me. They recognized what God was doing in me. And they became my defense, my friends. They surrounded me, they protected me from these things that were happening. And they became kind of like a safe haven to me. And this is what Job is really saying here. This is what he's getting at in verse 5. My mouth would encourage you. Comfort from my lips would bring you relief. This is why it's so important. When we see something happening to someone, they're going through a hard time, things are falling apart. So say, okay, what is happening in the spiritual realm here? Is it because they are causing it? Are they actually a troublemaker? Are they causing all this trouble to happen? Or is it because there is a spiritual effect happening, a ripple effect in the spiritual realm that is causing them to shift forwards? and to shift deeper into the presence of God, and people are feeling that effect. And if that's true, these guys really just need encouragement. They need friends. They need to touch base with reality. And even if the other one is true, they're a troublemaker. Hey, you know, these guys need love anyway. So you can't go far wrong. So let's have a look at the effect on the people around. I've already had a touched on that, but in verse 10, it even goes into a little bit of detail. It says that people open their mouths to jeer at me. They strike my cheek in scorn and unite together against me. This is what can happen when all of this stuff is going on, when someone is going through a wilderness, a desolation in their lives. Things just don't seem to be making sense. What can happen spiritually is as things begin to build up. Now, we already covered this in a previous study, in one of the previous chapters of Job, where in the spiritual realms, what people say, the intents of the heart, if that keeps building up, it builds something in the spiritual realms. And other people can feel that effect too. So what happens is, over time, the effect in the spiritual realms is to actually turn people against the person. This is why it's so important to speak well over people, to honor people. It's a kingdom thing. Even when Jesus was faced with the arrest in the Garden of Gethsemane, and the guards came to arrest him, Peter took up a sword and struck off an ear of one of the guards. His ear was on the floor. Jesus just encouraged Peter to put the sword away, and he healed the guard. This is the kingdom of God, is to love our enemies. And if we love our enemies, how much more should we love those who are believers in Jesus, who are going through a difficult time and a wilderness? So this is how we defeat that effect around on the person, of people turning against them, the situations turning against them for no reason. You know, it'd be obvious if there was something actually going wrong and there was a reason people were saying things about the person, if it was true. But if it's not true, if it's coming from nowhere, rumors are coming from nowhere, or this person people are suspicious of them for no reason, there's something happening in the spiritual realms. And we can defeat that by speaking well of the person, by honoring the person. Now, what this does supernaturally is, in the spiritual realm, it surrounds this person with, it's almost like something effectual in the spiritual realm that ministers around them. And it creates like a magnet that people see this, their spirits pick up on this, and they're drawn to the person. So the basic spiritual principle here is one of encouragement and the power of encouragement. If we are encouraging, we heal through our words, we heal through the intents of our hearts, we heal through the effect that we have in the spiritual realm. If we do the opposite, then we actually add to that isolation spiritually. And that's quite, it can be quite devastating for the person until their wilderness and desolation period is ended and over. Now, this is a really strong message here of the importance of encouragement, the importance of building up. And I'm not negating the need for correction, the need to say, hey, I'm aware of something in your life that needs to be addressed. And when that happens, it's actually a calling to walk alongside each other, to help the person correct themselves and get back into line. And I've been through situations myself where I've had to, look at my life and say, well, actually, this way I'm living, these thoughts I have, or aspects of my behavior, it's actually not what God intended for me. So I need to change myself. But most of the time when that's happening, it doesn't cause this wilderness, it doesn't cause this desolation, because that's just human nature. And we're on a journey of transforming into the perfection of Jesus Christ. It's a continual journey throughout life. But what I'm talking about here is actually it's kind of like a strange wilderness and desolation that suddenly happens overnight, or it can creep up on us. It lasts for a long time, and nothing we do can change it. That's kind of like one of the hallmark signs that something like this is happening. So if you know someone like this, get alongside them, pray with them, love them, invite them for dinner, go out for coffee with these guys. It's going to be difficult to begin with because their hearts are probably got hundreds of questions. They're probably in a state of desperation, but they just need some love, you know. Just need something non-spiritual, maybe a game or a walk in nature or visit an art gallery, something really low-key, chill, just to get them back in touch with reality and start loving these people, because that's what they need. And you never know, these people might actually be diving into the depths of the Holy Spirit in secret, and no one will know it. And they might come out with some real gems, some real wisdom, some real revelation. And how great would that be if they were able to be in a place coming out of this wilderness, out of this desolation, into a fruitful kind of atmosphere, environment, where they're able to bring what they've learned back into the church and encourage so many more people, and actually bring the rest of the church to where they've got to in their revelation with God and the wisdom of God upon them. So be blessed. I hope this today's message has encouraged you, and I hope it's given you some insight and some wisdom into helping people going through difficult times. If you like this video and would like more mentoring or teaching materials on the biblical perspective of these spiritual gifts, why don't you join me on my Patreon? It's www.patreon.com/Christian Seer. If you like this video, please give me a like below, subscribe, and follow, and leave a comment below. Let me know if you have any questions, any thoughts. I love to hear from you, and I look forward to you joining me for the next video, which will be coming soon.